Hey everybody, if you didn't already know, Katie and I purchased a 2008 Tiffin Allegro open road back in 2015 and we immediately started renovating it. And to be honest with you, we had no clue what we were doing, but we are happy with the way the RV turned out. And with all that said, our projects aren't perfect, so today we want to highlight 5 RV renovation flops in the hopes that you can avoid the same mistakes we made. Let's get started with flop number 1, which is our RV captain's chairs. So here are our RV captain's chairs in all their glory. As you can tell, they're kind of in rough shape. We're not going to get into too much detail on how we actually did it. If you do want to check that out, here's a link that'll take you over to the website that goes into detail on the processes we tried and used and that type of deal. You can definitely check that out. But overall, if you look here, you can see that the paint's chipping in spots. On top of that, it is like the dirt kind of seeped in with the paint. But even more so is that the beige paint or color of the chairs from underneath where we painted is actually seeping through in spots, so it makes it look a lot dirtier than it actually is, and you can't clean it off because it's the underneath color. So that's kind of frustrating. So when you include the normal wear and tear that's happened along with the cat scratching the side and the humidity in the RV, it definitely didn't hold up the way we wanted to. We did try a couple different sealing options as well as a couple different painting options, but we just didn't get it right and totally flopped on this one. Now, would we recommend it for anybody to do it? Probably not, because it's really time consuming and we wouldn't want to torture anybody like that. However, a couple readers and viewers have suggested using maybe a fabric dye or a fabric specific spray paint, which we tried one of those, but it was a little too glossy. But anyway, we don't know how those would work, so you guys could give those options a try. If we were to do it again, we'd probably end up getting it reupholstered, but you could also look into seat covers as well as maybe even purchasing all new seats together. In the future, Katie and I definitely will want to do something about these two chairs, but right now we do most of our living behind them, and they're not any less comfortable to sit in, so we're going to leave them the way they are until in the future when we get around to them. But if you've done any updates to your captain's chairs, we'd love to hear about it in the comments below. But anyway, let's move on to RV renovation flop number 2, which is our slide out trim. Now, if you want to learn a little bit more about exactly how we did this and also our flooring in the RV, we are going to put a couple links in the description box. It'll take you over to the website where we do have posts that go into detail on how we did those things. But anyway, we're really happy with the way that our slide out trim's holding up and the way it looks, especially considering it is on the slide out, so it does move in and out, and Katie and I walk on it quite frequently. Now, where the problem comes in is actually how we attached it. So we ended up using our nail gun to put it down, and with all that motion of walking on it and it coming in and out with the slide out, it actually creates enough friction to where a couple nails will pop up here and there. Just a little bit, just enough to kind of hurt your toe. It's gotten Katie quite a few times, me never. But we generally just nail them back down. But in the future, what I think we'll do is actually pull up the trim all together and use a rubber cement adhesive in order to put it down. Now, we've used the rubber cement adhesive on the trim in the doorway when you come in, and that's worked really good and doesn't require any nails. So while we haven't done it for the slide out trim specifically, we are going to try it, and we do think that it'll hold up just fine. So do we recommend you take this approach to your slide out trim? Absolutely. We love the way it's looked and held up. We would just recommend using a rubber cement or a different sort of adhesive to adhere it to the slide out versus the nails. But if you have done your own slide out trim, we'd love to hear about that in the comments below and how it worked for you and how it's holding up. But anyway, let's move on to RV renovation flop number 3, which would be our RV bathroom countertops. Now, this is one of my favorite projects. The wood's from the 1800s, pulled out of a barn in North Carolina, and it was the first time we ever got to work with live edge wood, which you can check that out in this video here. But the main problem comes in on the left part of the sink here. You can see we have a stain that kind of circles with the sink, and we're not sure if that's because maybe we didn't caulk it well enough, or maybe in the beginning when we weren't paying that much attention, there was maybe some water resting on the wood and then eventually stained it over time. If you know what caused this or how to remedy it, we'd love to hear about it. But in the meantime, I think what we're going to end up doing is actually popping the sink out, resanding and sealing the countertops, then putting the sink back in and just paying really close attention to our caulking and making sure that it's doing its job and sealing the edge completely. Now, while we're here, I also want to touch base on the fact that if you are traveling in an RV, you are going to run into hard water quite a bit. And I can't remember exactly where we filmed this, but I know while we were there, it was pretty much impossible to keep the white stains out of the faucet where the water comes out, mainly because the water was just so hard. Now, at the same time, having a copper sink also can be a little bit more work because you're not really allowed to let water rest on there or say like a little smudge of toothpaste because it'll really discolor the sink. So it is a little bit more work there, and so are the wood countertops. Now, would we change anything? Yes, we would have hopefully done something to prevent this stain from happening, but the supplies, we would definitely go with the wood and the copper sink every time, mainly because we just love the way it looks in here. But anyway, let's go ahead and move on to RV Renovation Flop number 4, which is our RV shower frame. Now, we don't have a post on the website or a video up about this, but about 2 months after we hit the road, we ended up taking the frame out and painting it in my uncle's shop in the middle of the night. And what's funny about that is I actually purchased the wrong paint, which we didn't even notice until we got it back into the RV. Quick note here, though, is that I'm guessing you don't really need to remove it. We needed to take our frame out for another reason, but I have seen a lot of people paint their shower frames in their house just by taping it off, so you may want to go that route. But anyway, down here you can see where we have a lot of chipping by the bottom of the door, as well as some random chips here and there where we may have ran into it. So, you know, it's not too bad, but looking back on it, Katie and I realized that we didn't even use a lacquer sealer on the frame, which I really think if we had, it would have lasted a lot longer, and maybe we wouldn't even be having this conversation. So, would we recommend painting your RV bathroom frame, shower frame? Absolutely we would. We think it's an easy, budget-friendly way to change the look of your RV shower. We would suggest maybe looking into a primer beforehand, and we would absolutely recommend using a lacquer sealer afterwards. We didn't do it, of course, but I really think that it would hold up a lot better had we done it that route. But anyway, if you've painted your RV shower frame and had success and aren't experiencing any chipping, we'd love to hear about that and what you did to kind of keep the chipping from occurring. But anyway, let's go ahead and move on to RV Renovation Flop number 5, which is our painted RV patio rug. Now, a while back, my parents had given us their old patio rug because they had gotten a new one. And it had a little bit of damage, but me and Katie thought, you know what, let's breathe some new life into this. And while this is a decor project and not so much an RV renovation project, we thought it was important to add in here because it can really highlight the question of, do I buy or do I DIY? Now, if you look here at the picture, you can see that the paint is pretty well chipped and pretty worn and kind of tore down. Now, when Katie first got done with it, it looked absolutely spectacular, and it did for about a month or two afterwards. But over time, as we traveled and folded it up and set it back out and put it on rocks and gravel and dirt and grass and all over the place, and then having it get rained on and stormed on, it just tore it up over time. So we really only got a few months of good solid use out of it. And actually at one point I had actually taken a gallon of black paint out of the bottom of our storage unit bay and tipped the whole thing all over Katie's rug, which she had finished like 2 weeks before. And anyway, so she had to repaint it again, and it still tore up. So for us, we actually moved on and we ended up purchasing a new RV patio rug, which you might have seen in our RV Christmas tour. If you didn't, you can check that out here. So in this instance, if we would have kind of weighed our outcomes a little bit more in the beginning, we may have went with buy right away versus DIYing. And I think that's what's important, because me and Katie are always open to kind of breathing new life into things. But at the same time, sometimes you really got to weigh your option to see if maybe paying for that service or that product may be better for you in the long run, both money-wise and time-wise. So anyway, something to consider. That wraps it up for our 5 RV renovation flops. We hope it gave you some ideas on what not to do. And at the same time, more importantly, we hope that it gave you some inspiration to tackle that project that you've never done before. And in the end, if it doesn't turn out perfect, I mean, that's fine. Let's just chalk it up to experience. But don't be afraid to reach out for help and guidance. You could try the RVing community. We found that people are extremely receptive to sharing information to help one another out. But anyway, if you want to check out some of our tours, we're going to put a link in the description box below, as well as a link to our website where you can check out some more of our RV projects and inspiration. But anyway, thank you guys so much for swinging by today. Don't forget to subscribe, and we'll see you again soon.